Tom, where are we standing at all?
We're standing on the path going into where the bunker is now at the moment. We're heading for the bunker where they hid the time of the troubles there instead. That's what.
And what's the name of this townsland?
This is middle quarter, Newcastle.
Brilliant. Will you show me this bunker?
Yeah, we'll go up and have a look at it now, yeah. We're walking just up now to where they hid the time the Liam Lynch dug out the bunker, and Michael Collins visited a couple of times, and De Valera, the 12 of them hid there underground for the time of the troubles. So that's where we're heading to now, to show you.
And your own grandfather and uncle, they used this bunker as well, did they?
They were in the digging of this bunker, yeah, when they dug it out, they were in the digging of it, and the end of it.
And just across the valley here is where your mother's
across the valley, then is where my mother came from, and that's the house that Collins slept in 3 times when he visited the bunker here. And it's just about 10 minutes across the stream to it, and it's in a dip as well. It was a hide house, you know. Oh. And as you can see at the times, that time there was no forest in the area, it was open ground that time. Now there's a lot of plantation in the area around.
And your people were involved in the digging out of this, was it?
Yes, my uncles and father, yeah, and mother's people and all, and the neighbours in the locality were the digging out of it, yeah.
And that was all done on the QT?
It was all done night time, yeah. It was dug in the night time, and there was about 40 or 50 men. And they dug it, they had old meal bags, and they'd fill them the clay, and they'd let them roll down the cliff, as you'll see now when I show you. There's a steep drop into the stream, and they had lads below opening them, shaking it into the water the way it wouldn't be seen, and more lads bringing the empty bags back up to fill them again. And that's why it was built kind of probably alongside the stream for a reason, you know.
And all done in the dark of night?
All done in the dark of night, yeah. Now we're in the spot where the bunker is, and I just show you a few different, give you an outlet of what the part, this part here was the part where the most area they were sleeping, this square here. As you imagine that this was camouflaged off, and just at the mouth of it here there was a camouflage entrance if they were ambushed here, and then this was the tunnel going out here, and everyone asked why they didn't build it straight or dig it straight. It wasn't for a reason, because if they were ambushed over there, they wouldn't kill everyone in on this part here where they were all staying. And just this spot here in the centre, there was a Vickers machine gun sitting up here faced outdoors, another camouflage. If they were in trouble, they would escape down the bank. And they were sitting there the whole time. And just a vigil, like while you're standing, that's the way it was. You wouldn't even know it was there, it was covered off. You'd walk right out over it. It was timbers on the side and timbers across, and the old rushes out of the fields were cut as thatch for insulation, and that was in the top, and then there was old galvanised with shaker clay, and the grass was on it, and with some of the old galvanised here all the time that we kept off of it, that was fell in, so we're hoping to restore it back again. And I was just telling you early on as we were walking in, if you see here, there's a large steep drop down the stream. It's just straight down where they lift off the bags down to the stream. If you were actually down here, you'd see the stream below, and that's where when they dig and they lift the bags floor down into the stream and the digging of it.
And do you remember this as a child?
I remember as a child, yeah, coming down here, and it was kind of falling in, and a child, yeah.
And all them objects you showed me on the table, were they, most of them are found
here? Most of them are found here. When we digging up, this trench was kind of knocked in, and I suppose they left in a hurry and it was knocked in, but we found a bit of stuff on the floor there, the old gun and the floor of that. I think that they were saying at the time that was timbered floor for dampness. That was rotted away years ago. We found the old pick, and then along here, the clay that was fell in, we we found all bits of bullets and bits of ones were fired, but they were kind of decayed away. They were used ones, and all that area along there. Mostly here, we found a good bit of the ammunition, because it was a place that they were storing for the gun, a storage place. Now, I was told, I think that was bigger, because I remember my uncles and father telling me that was a kind of a bigger square there. So it's probably going back to there, you know. We just tied it up at that just to stop it falling in. Keep it alive, you know.
And when did you do this work?
We've done this work about 8 years ago, and we're kind of just doing a little bit since there, just to make it safe. A little bit of railing down there lately for people to walk down into it. There, just to protect. And we'll see what we'll do in the future, you know. Then going ahead, what we'll do with it.
And you were telling me De Valera spent time here?
Yeah, De Valera was here, yeah. He gave it most of his time here. And the troops, he was kind of the main man here, and Liam Lynch, he was sort of Liam Lynch as well, and then he was the main man calling the shots there, De Valera. And like I was saying to you, back at the house, this is where they left in, and they went on to Lismore, and they needed back in Fermoy to sign the treaty after finishing up here when Liam Lynch was shot the day after. And then they were back in the Nile Valley 3 or 4 days after that. There was a house there again that the treaty was signed. Yeah, that time they used fire. It was funny because they used fire back there, a bit of practice, and people were often wondering, like, it was drawing attention. But then at the time, the old people were saying it didn't, because they'd fire and then they'd be gone without a bit of training. So that kind of turned the scent off, that there's no one hiding around here, but still the lads were here only about 150 yards away from where they were firing.
And you were saying that De Valera spent, is it 6 months here?
6 months, there were 12 of them here, yeah. 12 of them underground here. And they'd only 2 people appointed to go out and get the food in the night time. And it was all in certain points of the corner of the fields and the ditches. The women would have it cooked and to be left. And they knew the spots different, but they had to keep track of the different nights of the different spots what it would be. And there was one poor individual here then, and he went out to collect a message across the road in a neighbour's house. And that time you had the porches with the timber table with the round hole in the base and the shaving thing, and he was a bit scruffy, so he decided he'd stay longer and give himself a shave, but the door was open. And as you see here where the sheep are, there's a roadway, and the boys were going down there and they spotted him, and they were looking across with binoculars, and they spotted him, and so one of them said he'd take a pot at him, but they hit the door frame as he was shaving himself, and he was okay, but he got all timber and all embedded in his throat and his face, but he got treatment from all the old women who were inside in the house. He was looked after, and he made it back here again.
The women were really important in this whole story too.
Oh, the women were big, yeah. So the women had to go out with the food, and they had to cook the food, and the men were gone out, and the women were there, like, you know, if they were ambushed or came in, like, it was tough going, like, you know, to keep out in secret, like, you know. Yeah, big involvement in it, yeah.
And were any local houses raided?
There were a few of them around, not up kind of this side, but there were a few of them raided down the back side, down Newcastle, Gortonbridge area, along that area, you know. And they were being raided the day Liam Lynch ran. They had a spy out in the bike for him, and he was in the shop in Gortonbridge, and the boys were coming on, so he pedalled back fairly quick, but they were on his heels and followed him, so they were all hiding up in the attic down under the hill there where Liam Lynch was shot, and they all fled at it there. That's when they headed for the hills, and Liam Lynch got shot. So they were all running back for here, but it was just tough luck he didn't make it. If he was gone another 100 yards, he'd be probably safe, you know.
So where are you taking me now, Tom?
I'm taking you down into the bunker, down into the trench of the bunker. Yeah, down the pathway here. And this was one of their exits here. Now this was, I was showed all this when I was young. It was camouflage with all the stuff, you know, the wild stuff that grew around, and they were able to escape down that way if they were ambushed at the back over. And like I explained to you, like, the way it was built on the bend, you can see yourself, like, it was impossible to kill anyone at the other side. And this was all camouflage, and if they wanted to escape, they could escape. And same on the other side. Yeah. This is the spot I was explaining to you that they were sitting with the Vickers machine gun. There was 2 on duty the whole time. Here with the machine gun, that's where we found some of the bullets and the stuff. There was a lot of stuff here, but it was all taken away and at the time when things finished up, you know. It was faced out that way there for ambush with a man behind it, 2 men in it the whole time. And it was there for if they got ambushed. And that's the point where it was sitting now. Yeah.
And you found a lot of your bits and pieces here.
The pieces, yeah, with the old bullets were fired and brass and some of the live 303 bullets and stuff. But there was a lot of stuff cleaned up, but they tied it up as much as they could, you know. And I suppose there was stuff just left and probably still stuff stuck in the clay in places, you know.
And then the main part is up here where the men slept?
The main part is up here, yeah, where they slept. This was the main eating and sleeping area. You see, this is the bank. It was all cut out and it was tough digging. It was hard, sliggy ground. And this was the main area to the main house of it. And just behind you again, as you see it there, that was another entry which was camouflaged again. Escape route, or if they were an ambush or they had to go, that was all camouflaged. I still think there was oak timbers across there. I think that could be one of them all the time there. That's fell down, and just as I was explaining to you, you can see the stream down below and the drop that's down to the stream that I was explaining to you about the bags. They rolled them off down. It was taken big old meal bags and they full them and they knotted them and they left them roll down into the stream, and they had lads below shaking them into the water the way the dig wouldn't be seen to get rid of all this amount of clay. And then they had lads bringing up the empty bags again. It was kind of a revolving thing they had set up, you know. And you imagine like that was just this alone, and that was a lot of clay, so it didn't have to be seen. It was gone. So that's the way it was done in the night time.
And across the way, were those trees there?
No, across the way there was no forest or anything. Like, it was kind of more open ground that time. It was just wild, maybe not fuzz bush, and you know, it was more grazed that time with sheep and cattle years ago. And it was open. Like, if you were looking down there, you could see lads coming across the stream, or you could see them coming down the valley from the other side. If you were getting ambushed, like, if you wanted, you could see them, you know. But it was very well done, and like they actually walked down over them, and they never knew they were there, like, at the time.
And did you hear stories growing up about this place being dug out?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Stories of my uncles and my father and all about the times, yeah, but all the way it was done, and the bags and the digging and the night time, and they had people on watch as well around the area for anyone coming. They just didn't dig away, you know, and be ambushed or be seen by someone. They had fellas out watching the whole time as well. So it was a big thing, you know. Like I said to me, I used to be listening to, I was devil for listening. My father used to catch me dear at uncle. He said, "You're listening too much," you know. He'd be getting a little kick in the ear, you know, at the fireplace beside. But I am. So we kept it all. We have as much as we can, the history of it all, and it's nice to have. And now we'll hold on to what we have, you know. I actually remember when I was young fella, but it rotted away, and we probably could have kept it. I remember seeing a real old, it was rotted into the ground. It was an old oil heater, was in the corner there. But so like we were too young and foolish to keep it, and if we knew now, we'd have kept it. But I don't know what happened the day after. But it was in. I remember being seeing it when I was a child, and it was in the corner there. It was an real old oil heater, you know. And you imagine like this place was timbered out, and it was all covered in, and but it was tough going. 6 months, you know, tough going underground, and when you get in and out, you imagine the darkness and everything, like, you know. And then even to go out, you don't know who was around. Or I suppose that time they had good watchers, you know.
And this was all sheeted over, was it?
This was all sheeted over, yeah. It was all timbers and rushes, and then sheeted and clay on top, with the brack growing on the top of it then.
And that's some of the galvanised up there, is it?
With some of the old galvanised, we kept it off and we put it up, and we stacked it there for years, and we'll see. Hopefully we'll kind of put back some of the way, or we'll see if we'll do it. So. And
the men who slept here, do you have any names of the men who slept here?
There were Dibbalere and Dan Breen and Cahill Bro and all. I had actually a writing thing from Indo Reardon that he was to send on to me because he knew the names, and the poor man never got back to me. He passed away, but he had the names of the full lot was in here at the time. And he was coming back to kind of get it going at the time too. He wanted it more published, you know, but so the man was a big age and he didn't make it, so it was a pity. He had a lot, he knew the history and he knew the names and all happened here.
And they left this place in a hurry, did they?
They left it in a hurry in the time Liam Lynch was shot, yeah. And they headed out over the hill here from Millery onto Ballysaggart, and they were supposed to stop in the house. They got fed and tea and all. They were heading for Fermoy to sign the treaty. Yeah.
After spending 6 months here.
6 months here, yeah. And a week before that, De Valera left here and he went across the road and he met Liam Lynch up across, and they transferred paperwork or maps that time, whatever they were doing, the bookwork. They met just across the road, and De Valera made it back here again then.
Where did you find the Luger, Tom?
They found it here on the floor of the place where they slept and were eating. We just done a little bit of picking with the pickaxe and shovels and just to see what we'd find or anything there, and we found the Luger there and a couple of empty rotten shells, the 303s and the small Luger shells, but they decay in your hands, you know. They were fired ones, so the dirt got into them in the wet, and that's where we found it, just there in that area. Probably at the time it could have been under the timbers, the floorboards at that time, I don't know, and then they rotted away, but it's just there in that spot anyway. It's probably just one of the ones they left after when they left in the rush, you know. There was a lot of stuff here. My father and my uncles tell me there was an awful lot of stuff had to be moved out of here the days after the moving.
And the big artillery gun, that was hidden, you were saying?
Yeah, they said that was hid at the time, that they put in the bog or something. That was the story. No, tough bog. Keep it preserved probably, or just get rid of it fast. To somehow, maybe probably all the time, we don't know. I found, but it was taken out of here as well, yeah. Brilliant. And the big shell then just found it on the bank. You know, the big shell I showed you with the 1916, that was on the bank here when we cleaned the patch just for, because it was on a bit of a slope there, just with the bank for people to stand to make it safe. And that's where we found the big shell popped out there, the two of them there. This was the way out along here then. And the trench, so.
Standing in history.
Yeah, standing in history, yeah. It's a shame, yeah. But so look, we'll get there now and we'll get it going, so yeah.
Mind you, it probably wouldn't have been the Ritz back in the day either, was it?
No, oh God, no. You may be sure it wasn't the Ritz, no. You go out, get your food in the corner with feed in the ditch in the middle of the night. You wouldn't call it the Ritz. And you sleep underground, like, you know. But there were tough times they done it, and they'll just tell you what they fought for, you know. And there were tough people, and the people that helped them, and the women and men. Fair play to them, I say, anyway. So we'll keep it up and keep thinking them, you know. Keep it alive.